It is Halloween. We got some major Michigan football news and rumors. We're talking Conor Stallions. Did he or didn't he on several different items? Then, did Michigan use some disinformation campaign to kind of snuff out the rat, figure out who was leaking things to the press? And Jim Harbaugh contract. Sunday, the Wall Street Journal said it is off. It's been rescinded. But now there's a lot of hope around Michigan football fans and general internet community that a Harbaugh contract extension is still back on. We've got all those stories here on the Michigan Football Report. And I do want to say thank you so much to the Ohio State fans and Penn State and Notre Dame and Tennessee and Georgia fans that have been watching our show and infiltrating the comments. But it really perturbs me when I see all these accusations and just cheater this, cheater that in our comments. So, Michigan football fans, roll call, type Go Blue in the comments. Hell, type it twice if you want Michigan to win a national championship. It's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. Let's get it going right now. All right, so on this show, we're going to talk about a little inside scoop that I got just this afternoon that maybe, just maybe, some of these stories that have come out, at least over the weekend, earlier this week, have been used by Michigan, by maybe some of Jim Harbaugh's confidants, to snuff out the rat, give them disinformation, see what comes out the other end, gets published by a certain publication or two, then Michigan knows who is doing the talking. And then, is Conor Stallions really James Bond? We're going to show you the pictures that might prove he is the most mysterious man in the world. Then later on in the show, we're going to talk some Harbaugh contract rumors. Local media, a.k.a. the Blog Boyz, reporting that a decision on this contract is not off the table. It's not been rescinded, but maybe there could be extension coming sooner than later. We're going to talk all about that. And I think really this Harbaugh story is the one, as everything's hit the news on Conor Stallions recently and even this morning, all this Harbaugh stuff is going to be the big story the rest of this week. If it doesn't happen before the Purdue game, that could be telling. Some Michigan football news I want to make sure you guys are updated on. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the former Wolverines wide receiver, 27 in 2019, has had a much better career than I expected with the Cleveland Browns. Traded to a contender. He is headed home. Traded this afternoon on the NFL trade deadline to your hometown Detroit Lions. If you want to watch all of our NFL draft coverage from Chat Sports, link to that show is down in the comments and in the description of today's video. And speaking of it being Halloween, let me know what your Halloween costume is in the comments, whether you dressed up tonight for Halloween, if you're going out trick-or-treating with your kids, or hell, even yourself if you're a kid watching this, or what'd you go for the little adult Halloween party over the weekend? Let me know down in the comments, because I had the best Halloween costume in all of America. I went to the World Series on Friday night. What did I dress as? Mysterious man Conor Stallions himself. I mean, it's not that tough. Kind of had a little beard going on, a little hat, trying to be inconspicuous, but I was still rocking a Michigan shirt, and I was filming the Texas Rangers dugout, seeing if the opposing team, the Diamondbacks, wanted to pay me to steal their signals. Speaking of Conor Stallions, I should say, let's dive in to this saga. It kind of started last night, and then really exploded onto the scene this morning. Twitter detectives, and you know who you are, you're probably watching the show, found photos of what appears to be Conor Stallions on the Central Michigan sideline with a CMU hat, CMU shirt, and like a visitor's pass for the CMU Michigan State game, which was the first Friday of the year, September 1st, which in itself would be, I don't want to say a crime, is not necessarily the term to use, but a violation. He is on staff for Michigan football. And if he went to a Michigan State game, they're a future opponent of Michigan. That in itself does, at least as far as I've read it, break the NCAA rules. So he could have done it rogue, but also there are several former Jim Harbaugh staffers on that CMU staff, including head coach Jim McElwain, a longtime cornerbacks coach Mike Zordich, and others. We're going to show you the photos here in a second, but we're going to keep this train rolling. We got 847 likes last week. If you want to keep this train rolling, the Jinx train that we've won. I think Michigan's won 26 out of 27 games. We've done this. If you want Michigan to drop 60 on Purdue, can't just be a win this time. Drop 60 on Purdue. Like the video. Put out the good vibes. I'm predicting 63-0. And if Michigan looks bad, coming off all this controversy, coming off a bye week, it is your fault. If you don't like the video, you'll be sitting there at 11 o'clock on Saturday night, weeping into your hands. I've got a full list of everyone who's watched the video, full list of everyone who's liked it. I'm going to compare the Michigan football fans. If I don't see your name, I'm coming for you. Your fault. Like the dang video. Here's the photos. I tweeted out this morning. I actually created this photo in my little photo app. Is the photo on the left is the mysterious man who is on the CMU sidelines on a Friday night, and he's singing him song himself. He's doing this with his arms like this. He's like, I wear my sunglasses at night. Dun, 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 dun. Now, there are some strong similarities in their bone structure, their facial structure, but the difference is you see, look on, right underneath Conor Stallions on the right, his actual hat. Now, that photo, from what I've been led to understand from seeing it where I grabbed it, was from the next day, which was Michigan's first game. Michigan State CMU played on Friday night. That photo is from Saturday, Michigan opener of the season. So no hair. You see the the mysterious man in the CMU hat has some hair. Also goatee. Clearly you can shave the goatee. Clearly you can cut your hair. But isn't Stalions bald? Haven't we seen all of Stalions' photos over the last couple of years in the locker room with J.J. McCarthy in 2021, on the field with Chris Partridge, standing next to Jim Harbaugh and others at Michigan football games? Here's his profile in the formerly Michigan football directory. They've taken him off the website. That also was his Twitter profile photo for a while. So if that's him, that means that the guy in the hat who had hair, was he wearing a wig? Was Conor Stallions wearing a wig? Is he that mysterious? Is he that great and terrible at what he's trying to do with creating this vast network of spies? Because he would have had to wear not only sunglasses, purposely have a goatee going on, and put on some sort of wig to make it look like he has hair, and then show up at the Michigan game the next day with a bald head. This is day 13 of the Conor Stallions saga, and I will say this. If this is in fact true, and there's a photo coming up that you're really going to want to see that I just saw before we jumped on to film this, that maybe makes it pretty obvious that it was Conor Stallions. If it is him, that's a bad look for him. It's a bad look for Michigan, and it really hurts Michigan's, claim that we broke no rules. We were paying scouts to scout the games, but we didn't go to any games ourselves. If Stallions was at a Michigan State game, a future opponent, then they cannot argue that any longer. They'll just have to argue that he was a lone actor that went behind everyone's back, which is looking probably more likely, tougher to believe, I think, than it previously did. So another counter photo, not good. We'll talk about that here in a second. Then, the end of the show, keep watching. We got a lot of good stuff for you, so don't skip ahead. But end of the show, we're going to talk with Jim Harbaugh, contract rumors. Maybe we expect something to happen around this as early as tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. We will see. But we are presented by Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. I've never really been a daily fantasy player in my life, and that has all changed this season with Prize Picks, the ultimate daily fantasy sports platform that takes your passion for sports to the next level. What sets Prize Picks apart? It's the simplicity and flexibility of the game. You don't have to worry about setting these big, complex lineups each week or competing against expert players that prey on new daily fantasy players like I am. Don't have to worry about any of that with Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you only select more or less for the projections that they have for your favorite athletes. These are my picks for this week's NFL Sunday. Got a little Ohio State, Michigan flair going on there. I'm saying more for Nico Collins than 55.5 receiving yards. I'm saying less than 8.5 rushing yards for Coldridge. I couldn't scramble to save my life. Stroud. And then I'm throwing in there a little Patrick Mahomes. They're playing what could be an absolute shootout over in, Germany, right? Chiefs, Dolphins. First team to score 50 wins the game. So I'm going more for Patrick Mahomes. What does that say there? 295.5 yards. So those are my picks for Prize Picks this week. I put up $10. If I get all those right, I win $50 from Prize Picks. It's the easiest and simplest, frankly, way to play daily fantasy sports. Get $100 match when you make your first deposit. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. You got to use that link, PrizePicks.com/CLNS. It's down in the comments. It's down in the description. When you make your first deposit, just put in code CLNS. You get an extra $100 when you make your first $100 deposit. So if Conor Stallions did it, right? If that was him on the sidelines for Central Michigan, Michigan State, these are some things I want to know. Who gave him the field pass credential to enter the field and rock the Central Michigan shirt and hat? Was there any photo or video from that game that he took for himself? Was any of it found on his University of Michigan issued computer? And did Central Michigan benefit in any way, right? There's a lot of rumors out there that, hey, he was on the sidelines helping the Central Michigan staff to try and beat Michigan State to really, get their season off on a wrong foot. So he's there maybe on a Friday night at Michigan State, helping Central Michigan with all the science he stole from last season. That's the accusations that are being thrown out there around Conor Stalions. Now, as I mentioned, there's several former Michigan staffers, several people close to Harbaugh, or at least have been close to Harbaugh, on that CMU staff. Many of them, likely knew Stalions when he was, volunteer with Michigan from 2015 through 2021. So that is what we know. Then this is the photo right here. Saw this on Twitter. Someone took the liberty of taking a straight-on photo that's kind of the same exact shot of Stalions in his Michigan gear, and they took like Microsoft Paint and drew a little pair of sunglasses on him. And I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty much Stalions. All right, so I was saying there's no way it's him. Okay, it might be him. Just like I said, Michigan did nothing wrong. Well, maybe Michigan did something wrong, whether it was Stalions or an elaborate scheme. I'm not sure. But that one, that's a good edit. It was by an Ohio State fan. I'm not giving them any credit. But that was one that I hadn't seen until just a few hours ago. And it was pretty damning if I say so myself. Central Michigan, now they say that they did not issue any credentials to Stallions on their behalf. And as far as we've seen so far today, over 5-6 hours since this story really hit the wires, Michigan State, CMU, both looking into how or why he ended up on the field. The game was at Spartan Stadium, so did Michigan State issue him a credential? Did Central Michigan? Or did he buy a ticket, then come down to the field in pregame and someone just tossed one over his head and yanked him out of the field? I don't know. He ended up in the field somehow, and it is what it is. I think we're going to find out what the deal is with Stallions and his elaborate spy network in the coming days. Guys, the first college football playoff is tonight. We will be live here on this channel in just a couple hours here, probably within an hour of you, maybe an hour and a half of you watching this video, as we are filming at about 5:30 Eastern time, probably publishes around 5:45, 6 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock college football playoff live here on the channel. I won't be on the show. It'll be the simulcast of the main Chat Sports broadcast. YouTube.com/Michigan TV. Hit that subscribe button, or you can go over to Chat Sports, YouTube.com/Chat Sports TV. CFP Live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. All right, some more stories here. The rats are being fed. One of my top sources texted me this afternoon and said, I was like, hey, what's the Washington Post? What's the Wall Street Journal getting in on Michigan football stuff? Why do they care? Why is that big a deal to them? And why do they maybe kind of just throw something out of nowhere? And he said, he has heard, and he was told that Michigan, whether it's Harbaugh himself or Michigan staffers, fed disinformation to one or two people that they thought were the rats, going to Pete Thamel or going to other people, even going to the NCAA himself, right? Jim Stapleton, I don't know. And that they used disinformation. They told one guy a completely an elaborate story, told another guy a different story, saw which one ended up on the Wall Street Journal, saw which one ended up on ESPN. And the Wall Street Journal, who published it Sunday night, that Jim Harbaugh had his contract offer rescinded. Maybe that was told to this person to see if it would come out in the press in the next day or two. It did, and if so, Michigan has their rat. So if that's true, I trust the sources. Keep an eye out there. Todd Anson, we kind of alluded to this yesterday, right? He says in this tweet, now Todd Anson, if you're not familiar, is Jim Harbaugh's longtime friend, Bay Area guy, lawyer who helped Harbaugh negotiate his contract behind the scenes when he came to Michigan. He kind of calls out and quote tweets Rachel Bachman, who is a Michigan grad herself, 1995 Michigan grad, the writer of that Wall Street Journal article. She says, we'll know she's talking to the leakers, trying to railroad Harbaugh out, trying to railroad Harbaugh out if she's wrong, and she is. She was, make you a deal, Rachel, give up your source and out the leaker if this is wrong. So kind of what I read this tweet is, as of yesterday when we put it on the show, that he is alluding to is there's a leaker out there, he's feeding you this information, and I think this tweet was cocky enough that he knew, if what I'm telling you here is true, that Michigan was putting out disinformation to see who the leaker was. So rats being fed is what I was told today, to try and figure out who is going behind Jim Harbaugh's back. So maybe you won't see as many of these stories break that things are happening inside the Michigan football program as much going forward. Wolverines are playing a football game this week, surprisingly. Could be the number one Michigan football team, depending on what happens tonight in the CFP, although I don't think they will be number one. I think it's probably Ohio State, unfortunately, because of their 2 wins over top 10 teams. But predict the score. Michigan, Purdue. I think this team is galvanized. They want to prove the haters and the doubters wrong, and that this film, Spygate did nothing to help them. My prediction here, folks, 63-0. This Purdue team is one of the worst offensive teams in all of college football. I think Michigan's going to lay it on, cover that 34-point spread, probably in the first half. So let me know down in the comments your Michigan-Purdue score prediction. All right, is a Jim Harbaugh contract extension coming? There's been plenty of reports. They're becoming hot and heavy on Twitter, on the different message boards, et cetera, et cetera. Is a Jim Harbaugh contract extension coming, right? Let's go back a little bit to October 9th, right? Jim Harbaugh himself thinking about, being asked about whether or not a contract is in the cards for him. He basically said, you want to be somewhere where you're wanted, where they like what you do, and your bosses tell you that. Now, it's funny because a week later, Warde Manuel came out and he said he stopped Jim Harbaugh in the middle of a conference, and a press conference. Harbaugh was giving all this credit to different assistant coaches, and Manuel was like, "You forgot one, you, Coach Harbaugh." And clearly, your bosses tell you that is what was alluded to. That Warde Manuel clearly heard loud and clear. Now, the Wall Street Journal, right? They said Michigan on Sunday night rescinded an offer that had been in the works since October. Harbaugh on Monday, just to refresh you guys' memory from yesterday, says, I wouldn't say that's accurate. And so we showed you Todd Anderson. And I alluded this to last week that this guy's been putting out tweets that says November 9th, November 9th, November 9th. So let's pull the actual tweets here. November 9th, Swanky. Talking about Swanky Wolverine, the edit master that we've talked about in this show. Cue the calendar countdown to November 9th, right? This is on October 10th, right? So 30 days away. Cue the calendar, right? 4 days later, Todd Anderson again, right? This is in Jim Harbaugh's inner circle. Contract watch, day 5, 25 days to November 9th, 2023. Jim Harbaugh anxious to revise contract with Michigan. And then October 22nd, what's that, 9 days ago, Michigan win number 997, Harbaugh College win number 81, and contract extension commitment November 9th. What's the significance of number 9th? I actually don't know. It's next Thursday. It's 2 days before the Michigan-Penn State game. Michigan usually for a road game will leave Friday morning or Friday afternoon if they're driving. They'll probably fly to Happy Valley, obviously. So is that kind of, hey, going on the road game, get it done by November 9th? But he has been banging the drum on this, that Michigan will commit to Harbaugh by November 9th, and we are now 9 days away from that date. Tell you what the Blog Boyz are saying, the Michigan football beat writers and message board gurus. The Michigan admin, according to them, met early today to discuss Jim Harbaugh's contract, and President Santaono's last word at the meeting was to get it finalized immediately. Reports are saying that Harbaugh's extension will, quote-unquote, happen soon. Now, whenever these guys put out a report like this, they've got plausible deniability, right? They'll say, it's happening soon. If it happens, they're right. They may have had a source on it. If it doesn't happen, it's always the same thing. Well, things change. Oh, that next story came out, or Warde Manuel put something else in the contract. Things changed, and our sources went wrong. We didn't just take a guess. So, things change. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I don't really have any true intel on where this is going on Jim Harbaugh's contract. So just wanted to kind of get you guys caught up to speed. If you're watching this after work here on a Tuesday, what's been said out there by the beat writers, the guys in and around the Michigan football program that sometimes have sources, although sometimes they produce just absolutely false information. So take this one for a grain of salt. Now, they're saying, maybe they just don't think things through sometimes. This is where I was a little skeptical on this whole thing this morning, is the brass, the people who are going to make the decisions, right? The admins, the decision makers in Michigan football met this morning, met Tuesday morning. Well, Warde Manuel's not in Detroit right now. He's not in Ann Arbor, right? He got on a plane from Detroit yesterday, Monday. He flew to Dallas, where I'm at. He's staying at the Gaylord Hotel, getting ready to do a college football playoff committee tonight, top 25 rankings. And according to what I've read, will fly back out on Wednesday morning. So how did Michigan have this meeting with him? I guess he could do it on Zoom. He could do it on a phone call. But I just think they would have got that done on Monday or Sunday or something like that if that was the case, rather than 7:30 a.m. when Jim Harbaugh's direct boss isn't even in town. I always pause when things just don't add up, and that's kind of where this thing is shaking out for me. So just pause on your optimism just a little bit, knowing that Warde Manuel isn't even in town. Taylor Lewan, former Michigan All-American-esque player, first-round draft pick, says not only, he's quoting a source here, not only has Michigan not rescinded Jim Harbaugh's contract, he put this video on Twitter. You can go check it out on his Twitter account. They've fast-tracked it and said, let's make sure it gets done. So that is from Taylor Lewan. And backing up the Blog Boyz, he clearly mentioned them in his Twitter video. He said, saw us put out there on Twitter from a source that I trust. I'm guessing it was, Webster or one of these guys, just local media, confirmed it with a source of his in and around the Michigan football program. So maybe that's a little bit of a notch in the, on the side, the belt of maybe this contract will happen for Jim Harbaugh this week. But I'm not holding my breath, although when it happens, we will be first to have a video out here on YouTube. I'll ask you guys this question before we wrap up today's show. Where will Jim Harbaugh coach in 2024? If you think it's the Michigan Wolverines contract extension, go ahead and type M down in the comments. If you think it's the NFL, go ahead and type N. I'm going to say Michigan at this point. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to be a quitter, especially with all the hate and the just cheater allegations thrown at him. I think he's going to want to prove that didn't help Michigan at all, or didn't help him enough that he should go run to the NFL and quit and leave this Michigan football program behind. Type M, type N. Let me know in the comments. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday, guys. We'll react to the college football top 25 and dive deeper into the Harbaugh contract rumors and whatever the hell else happens with Conor Stallions. It's been the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. Till I see you guys next time, go Blue.